What's up? I'm QuHarrison from Inevitable Human. I've got Paul Hickey from Data Driven Design, and a person that you may or may not be familiar with. He's a celebrity in many parts of the healthcare sphere. It's Nate from Orbita. I mean, I don't even need to drop your last name. You're known worldwide by a first name.
It's like Sting, Cher,
Yeah,
Bono,
yeah.
and now Nate, right?
Nate's the great.
And
Nate the Great.
Well, yeah, that's another character.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a single name in my tiny little sphere, which is my house, basically. It's I go by one name.
I love it. But your house travels far
Not
and
as
wide.
good as Q.
Q's omnipresent.
It's
You saw
one letter.
Star Trek. You
It's
saw
one
it.
letter.
I mean, yeah, it's nice. Meanwhile, what is Orbita? For the people that are out there, this is their first time. They don't know who Nate is. They don't know Orbita. Introduce them.
Well, more important that you know who Orbita is than Nate. Orbita is a software company based in Boston, and we help healthcare organizations across the industry tap into the power and potential of voice and conversational AI to improve patient engagement, to improve clinical efficiency, and basically to transform how healthcare is delivered.
Now, that's a lot for a person that understands how complex the healthcare industry is. How does, one of these echo devices change healthcare?
So imagine you're 84 years old and you're living home alone and you're struggling with a chronic care need. This is your only avenue to either addressing your isolation, your loneliness, or getting access to care. So I'll share an experience. I loaned one of these devices about 3 years ago to a neighbor of my parents. It's an 84-year-old man, vision impaired. I gave him this device and I said, Arthur, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. I'm going to ask you how it went. So I came back in 2 weeks and said, how'd it go? And he said, this has changed my life. I said, oh, in what way? He said, well, you need to understand, one, I'm alone. I'm 84 years old. I can't see. I have a seeing eye dog. And I also have my Apple Siri interface, but if I can't find my phone, I'm alone. So the ability to just ask what's in the weather today, so I know what to wear when I go outside, to find out, what's in the news, just with the power of my voice, to find out whether the Patriots won or not. And obviously more recently they haven't, but for him, little things like that were transformative to him. So, and I'm not even talking about care management. I'm not talking about managing a chronic care condition. This is just the fundamentals of a voice-first experience for transforming somebody's life.
Wow,
you can have
that's a powerful story.
Yeah.
Paul,
so you don't have to hold that to tell it. It just comes right out.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So Nate, I feel like maybe Orbita might not be getting some credit for some of the things that it's doing, because I keep hearing all these amazing things that's happening in healthcare, and then I've heard Orbita's name kind of come up in relation on the back end to that. What are some of the things you're most proud of that you guys are doing in the voice space?
So one of the reasons we're kind of a behind-the-scenes player.
I love that.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We make the magic happen behind.
Make the magic happen.
Okay.
Things that we're most proud of, I would say they're in two categories. Three categories. One is helping patients find information about health and wellness. Okay. So we partnered with the Mayo Clinic, as you may know, and they've developed some of the earliest forays of Alexa skills that are really about educating patients. And the most general use case is being able to answer questions about first aid, right? How do I treat a sunburn? What do I do if I have a spider bite? How do I remove a splinter?
Yep.
Basic things like that. So making the high-value healthcare content of somebody, a well-respected organization like the Mayo Clinic, available more broadly to a consumer audience, not just on their website, not just in mobile apps, but through this next-generation channel. We have a number of examples like that, and I will say that was the first foray into voice. The next thing that we're doing is we're doing more in clinical settings. So we've recently deployed voice assistants at the bedside.
Okay.
Not in this country yet. We're actually doing this in Australia, where we've got applications where patients are able to communicate their needs through voice while they're in their bed in the hospital room and say, I need to use the bathroom, I need a drink of water, I need a blanket. And that information is sent to the on-call nurses. The nurses can respond through an application that allows them to decide who's going to respond and when, how important it is, and what's the criticality of it. What's important is they know what the request was. So in contrast to the old red call buttons that you used to push, which are very binary, the nurses know exactly what the request is, and they can triage and respond accordingly. And we're seeing reductions in the response time on the part of the nurses. Okay. We're seeing reductions in things like risk of fall.
Okay.
And it's not as obvious, but you think about a patient who needs to use the toilet who has maybe a spinal condition or some other reason. If they get up and try to go to the toilet themselves, they're a fall risk. And anything we can do to reduce that is an important value metric. So that's second. The third one is more once a patient has received care and they're at home, right? How do you ensure that they're adhering to their treatment? How do you ensure that they're getting the support and help that they need? We're doing that more indirect through our partnerships. We're embedded in solutions that major providers are putting out there for caring for patients with chronic heart conditions, with diabetes, with respiratory ailments. So that's where we're sort of the behind the scenes enabler where we see real results.
Nate, are these software applications that are integrated with multiple Alexa skills, or is like the one, maybe
Not
the second
all of these
one you
are even
mentioned?
voice. The common theme here is a conversational experience. It could be a chatbot. The modality can be voice. It can also be chat. It can be touch and icon-driven interfaces, but it's basically a virtual assistant that's in conversation with you.
Okay.
So that's what we power.
Now, I mean, not every day you hear someone come sit in this chair and say they partner with the Mayo Clinic, right? But to partner with such a large group that's expansive and touches many lives worldwide, lives that they don't even know they've touched, right? For you to enable them to do that better through fringe or verge technology, how do you put together a team? How do you even get there? How do you even say like, hey, we're gonna take this device that just came out 7 years ago and like we're gonna go for it?
Yeah.
How did that, tell me that story.
5.5 years ago.
It was 5.5 years ago. Wow.
I don't think I'm revealing anything sensitive. The Mayo Clinic actually found us.
Oh, wow.
And the backstory of this is it's a little over 3 years ago. I was presenting, we had just started our foray into voice, and I was presenting at a conference down in Washington, D.C., the possibility and potential for voice assistance in healthcare. You know, we all kind of recognized when the Alexa first came out, we all said, healthcare, yes. You know, and my experience with Arthur and Lending and my Echo Doc sort of reinforced that. So we put together our pitch, and we actually did some work on our technology to allow us to accept Alexa commands and support the development of Alexa skills. And I presented it at a conference, and one of the senior executives in the innovation lab at the Mayo Clinic approached me and said, we're just starting to think about this. Can we work together?
Okay.
And that's recurred. That's not just with the Mayo Clinic, with other big systems, with insurance companies or pharmas. The nature of these conferences, it's almost like a solution looking for a problem, right?
Yes, and that's a great segue. So Project Voice, your booth, we're next to it. It's been super active. You've talked to a lot of people.
Right now, but
I mean, Evan's there. We see him over there in the corner. And you seem to have mastered the art of just getting the most value out of a conference when you show up. And I know you're pretty strategic in the conferences that you go to.
You would know that.
I would know that. Yeah, I would know that. I'm at a lot of the conferences and I see Nate and I'm like, oh yeah, what's up, Nate? But I mean, when it comes to getting value and then being at a place in like Chattanooga, I guess this is two parts. One, what is your conference strategy when it comes to you just networking? Because I think a lot of people watching this content get value from that, and even myself and Paul are curious. Because it's not every day you show up at a conference and like the Mayo Clinic, like you gave 2 presentations today, right? Yeah, like did the Mayo Clinic just call you right after?
No.
Yeah, like that's not an everyday occurrence.
You have something to say. Here, one of the advantages that we have is that we're very focused on healthcare.
Okay,
so it helps to be focused on a domain, right?
Yes.
If it's healthcare, financial services. We're at a conference about voice. This is horizontal.
Yes.
There's people who are working more generally in customer support. There are people who are working in financial services. I had a good conversation with a team that was completely dedicated to voice applications and financial services. But the fact that we are focused on healthcare means we're orienting ourselves not towards helping build voice assistance. We're orienting ourselves around solving problems that exist in healthcare.
Got it.
So when somebody says, what do you do in healthcare? If I'm at a conference like this, you heard my opening spiel.
Yeah.
If I'm at HIMSS, which is a healthcare conference that I'm sure you're aware of, I'm saying we're helping healthcare providers improve patient engagement across the gaps in care.
Right.
I don't say anything about voice necessarily out of the gate. I think that kind of entry point offers you an ability to reach people in the healthcare domain that would be harder to do if I just said we build voice skills.
Cool. Paul, what questions about voice do you have for Nate today?
Well, I think you're right about, healthcare being perfect application for voice. And I happen to be from the Nashville area, and Nashville considers itself like the healthcare capital, right? And so I have a conference coming up August 7th, 2020 called the Nashville Voice Conference. And I need to know from you, from someone like you, like, what's valuable? What kind of valuable programming can I have at my conference?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a healthcare guy, but the attendees of my conference are going to want to learn about healthcare, voice in healthcare specifically.
Yeah, well, I certainly point to what Bradley and the team have done here by creating tracks around the domains. I think that was smart.
Okay.
I think also the sessions themselves, orienting them around the problem spaces. I did a session yesterday on privacy and security of voice in healthcare. It's not really a specific problem space, like we're not trying to talk about solving type 2 diabetes, but it is something that is very important to address about particularly the intersection of voice and healthcare. So if you're working on a voice conference, orient it around domains in the problem space.
Okay,
highly
that's great
recommend that.
advice. I appreciate that.
Nate has come through and dropped a lot of knowledge, changed a lot of lives. We know that the future of voice in your eyes, it seems to be solving a lot of ailments in healthcare. And I'm excited that you're here because, what better guy or team to make it happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got confidence in him.
It's so you kind of helped build some of the first Alexa skills.
In healthcare, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say, but to be clear, we're in the second inning, maybe.
Okay. I like that
the way he
analogy.
thinks.
I like that analogy.
Just a second inning.
We're just the second inning. We don't know, who's on first. No, I'm only kidding. There's a lot of work to do. I alluded to privacy and security in my session yesterday. I think we know there's a lot of work to do. Our job as a provider of technology and services to the space is to be ahead of this on behalf of our clients and partners who are trying to understand what they can be doing and how they can apply this compelling new technology. But we have a long, long ways to go. And I keep thinking about Arthur, that experience I had, and I have many others early when we were exploring this. And that's where the passion comes from. You can affect somebody's life as profoundly like that with just what seems to be a relatively simple technology on the surface. Then there's something there. So.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your time. This was a pleasure. Paul, any last questions?
No, I appreciate your time.
And on that note, we will catch you all in the future.